Welcome to Three Steps. This is the second part of a three-part interview with TJ Guttormsen. He is a successful life coach here in Las Vegas. He is originally from Norway, and he's married to a beautiful wife. In this one, we go into discussing his background and his childhood, his life story, and how he went from being a shy kid to becoming living here in Vegas in America and teaching. Then we go into one of his favorite topics, relationships, and he gives 10 pieces of relationship advice that is really stellar. And one of them you want to consider is, what is transparent truth? Then he gives 5 simple instructions that work for both monogamy and polyamory. Hint, hint, this is what the conversation's about. All right, see you on the inside.
And Norway is a very, very, very comfortable country. It's very safe. We're all very okay over there. We're taken care of. And for me, who likes excitement and adventure, that gets old real quick. And so when I was younger, I was one of those people that I was shy and timid. And I sat in the back of the classroom at school. I didn't want any of the attention. But there was this urge in me to look for adventure, look at adventure more precisely, because I was too scared to be part of it. But I would look at it. I did martial arts because that was exciting, and it was inside my comfort zone because it was sports and all that stuff. And through most of my life, until my mid-20s, I lived safely. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at adventure, and I wanted to be in adventure, but I didn't have the courage to do it. And in 2004, my best friend went out backpacking for like several months, and I was shocked because he was just like me. And then he takes off and he goes out traveling the world all alone with nothing but a backpack on his back for like several months. And I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And so the next year, so the next year I did too. And it started this process in my brain of going, you know what? Adventure is not something to be looked at. It's something to have. It's something to experience. And that made me start thinking more about my life and the way that I showed up in my own life. And long story short, I started developing myself through self-development. I started out in the seduction community, and to me it was all about girls to start out with because I was shy and I loved women. I love women, but I was terrified of them. So I started out exploring that, and then but very quickly I realized, this thing about just going out and trying to get laid, as fun as it might be at times, it's not what I want to do. It's not who I want to be. I want to create a life for myself.
Wait, you mean there's more to life than just what? Chasing tail? Right? Oh my God.
Incredible, isn't it? So I decided that, I don't want to be the guy who just runs out down the street or at the club and talking to people. I want to be the guy who goes out and has an awesome life and attracts people who have awesome lives or want to be part of awesome lives. I'm happy to bring them along for the ride. And so from that on, I started expanding. And in Norway, my best friend and I, we were writing blogs about this because he was also part of this journey. And we were writing this blog, and it just grew and grew, and we got lots of attention. And finally, we got so much attention that I was spending half my time answering questions or giving advice or answering emails.
And you weren't getting paid.
I wasn't getting paid.
Fuck.
And I was getting my master's at the same time. I did a master's degree on teaching social skills and all of this stuff, and it got more and more clear. I was a kid that when I was a kid and they asked me what I wanted to be when I was an adult, I would say, well, I want to be a teacher. And they went, oh, why? You want to teach people? No, they have a lot of vacations. I didn't see the appeal of working my ass off all year. I wanted to go out and do things, and that's from the adventure thing. And so I never knew what I wanted to be, and it became more and more clear to me as people started seeking me out for conversations and advice that I really enjoy talking about this thing that I'm doing myself.
Right.
If I can do that on my own terms, be my own boss, I can start really creating the life that I want. So 2007, I actually I started talking to Johnny that you already mentioned online. He was the first coach I ever knew. Mm-hmm. And then 2008, I went to visit him in Berlin and a bunch of other, Jamie Smart and Steve Pickles, and ended up working with Johnny for a month. We traveled together, we talked together, he liked what I had to say, and he wanted me to contribute. And from there on out, there was no turning back. I loved it. I loved to be able to go out and meet people who were on the same path as me or wanted to be, mm-hmm. and showing them what I was doing, and then figuring out which parts of what I was doing worked for them.
Right.
And then they would take that and they would build their own stuff on top of that. And so it snowballed. In 2009, I launched my company, and I went full-time as a coach after working part-time for a year. And I basically never looked back. I've done workshops, I've done coaching, I've had clients and workshops and talks in 4 continents by now. I've talked to I don't know how many people, it's impossible to keep track. So that was my development from the shy and timid kid to the guy who gets to be his own boss and set my own hours and move to Las Vegas because this is where I wanted to be eventually.
Yeah.
And it's that whole cliche. If you told me when I was 15 what my life would be like, I would say you're just an idiot.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I'm married to a fantastic, amazing woman, and we have the kind of relationship that I didn't think existed.
Right.
Even 12 years ago, I didn't know that you could be with someone that you were so crazy about and have that amazing relationship with, but you could also have your freedom to go have your own life and have your friends and have your playmates, even have lovers, because we're polyamorous, and come back and there's not a problem. We're in it together and we're building something together, and it's just amazing to me to see that I grew up in a sheltered small town in northern Norway, shy and timid kid. My dad ran a clothing store. My mom works with mentally disabled people. There's nothing special about me. We had a nice family, a secure and safe. There was no reason for me to branch out and leave that. But if I can move from that in a very conservative town, traditional, if I can move from that to having the kind of life that I thought was only for rock stars back in the day, there should be no limit to what people can do if they're willing to do it.
If they're putting the effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. See what I'm talking about? So I think of you as a man that has gone through a great arc and great journey, and if you're willing to share and talk about relationship stuff,
sure.
You like you said, you came up from a conservative lifestyle in a conservative world, and right now, outside looking in, it's not that.
It's definitely not that.
And it's the kind of advice that not everybody gets to hear.
Sure.
So you've got a frame on relationships. You've got a worldview in relationships that are different than the average bear. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, would you be willing to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting out as a child, or child and teen and whatever, I grew up in the traditional family. It was me and my sister. It was my parents, and they were married until I was 20. So I'm from a broken home, but it was way too late to matter to me. And everyone was paired up, and it was monogamy, and it was traditional, and it was you meet someone, you fall in love, you get married, you get the kids, you get the picket fence, and that's what I grew up in. That's what I wanted, and that's what I fantasized about. I read a journal, and this is just a few years ago. I came across a journal that I had on my computer, and it was from when I was 18. Mm-hmm. And I was reading this journal. I was like, oh yeah, and it's just the first chapter. I was moving to the U.S. to be an exchange student, and I get halfway into it, and there's a sentence about I can't understand how people can have sex with someone if they're not in love with them. And I read that sentence. I went, this isn't my journal, and I started putting it away. and I'm like, but it was about. I remember that first part. I remember doing that.
Yeah.
So I had to go back and I had to read it, and I read the sentence again, and I was like, could I have written that wrong?
Could you really have written that?
It was such a, the moment I read the sentence, I've been reading half a page, it's, oh, me, one sentence, oh, not me. And because it was so foreign to me.
Yeah.
And I might have believed that truly when I was 18, or I might also have been saying it even to myself because it was the right thing to do. I don't know.
Right.
But that was my attitude when I was younger. It was that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not opposed to that. Mm-hmm. But I grew to understand that that's not me.
Right.
And I had monogamous relationships, but I sabotaged them without knowing that I was doing it. Mm-hmm. And the two long-term monogamous relationships I've had in my life, looking back at it, amazing women. I still keep in touch with them every now and then. Amazing women and relationships. There was nothing wrong with the relationship, except that I'm not monogamous. Mm. I never cheated.
Yeah.
I was tempted. I never cheated. I was mostly honest.
Yeah.
But I wasn't happy, and so. And I was not confident enough in myself to say that.
Right.
Not even to myself. So I kept sabotaging. And so it wasn't until I was mid-20s and I started coming across books and seminars and stuff on things like polyamory and poly general openness, all this stuff. And I went, wow, so there's it's not just like a rock star thing that you can sleep with a bunch of people. It's actually some people are not monogamous. It's not what we're meant to be necessarily.
We're not wired that way.
Yeah, and so I started exploring it, and in the beginning it was, let's just play. In the beginning I just wanted what I call playmates, girls that I was friends with and that I could also have sex with whenever we both felt like it. And for years I was like, I'm never having a girlfriend. That's silly. Why would you commit to someone when you can have all of this?
I remember TJ that was somewhat like that.
Yes. When we met, I was still in that phase.
Yeah.
And then without me noticing, it became more and more that I would definitely bond more with some women than others. And I would have, primary relationships, but I never called them that. Never put the label on it. But it was, we would travel together. We'd be together freaking almost every day and all that. And to me, the journey was discovering that there's no set rule for what a relationship should be. There's no set rule for what love should be. No set rule for what your life among other people should be in any way. Mm-hmm. You have to figure it out.
Right.
So I started out in monogamy, thinking that that's a frame and this is how it works. Moved on to thinking, monogamy, I don't have to do that. Well, then I definitely don't want anything that has to do with relationships. Let's just do this. And this is what I am now. Now I'm in this other booth over here, and that's what I'm sticking to.
Right.
Until I slowly started realizing, you know what? I don't have to define myself. I don't have to define my relationships by an officially defined rule or label.
Right.
So I tossed aside all labels. I call myself poly just because it's easy to say, and people go, "Oh, cool, he's something over there."
Yeah, they can grab onto that idea and what they think that means,
right?
And it answers a lot of questions for them without you having to go on an explanation.
Exactly. But mine and my wife's polyamory is very different from yours and your wife, for example, or other people a lot of other people that we know.
Yeah.
And so I always talk about, and I'm saying this directly to you guys, define your own relationships. What do you want? If you don't know, then go explore, go figure out. But don't look for an answer in books or from someone else or from your idol or from a coach or from a guru or whatever bullshit on what you should be or how your relationship should be. Define that for yourself. And then as you meet your partner or partners, define it with them. And I don't care if it's a monogamous relationship. You still need to do that.
Yeah.
I work with couples all the time.
Absolutely.
I work with couples all the time. And one of the things that I do every single time a couple comes and they're like, TJ, can you help us with this? Or can we have I'm like, sure. I sit them down. I say, all right, I'm going to ask you a question. You guys are both going to answer that question. You answer first. You be completely quiet. You're not. If you speak, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And when you answer, you're not answering them. You're telling me what you're thinking right now. And they go, okay, cool. We can do that. And I go, what is cheating? And 9 times out of 10, they have completely different answers because they have not talked about it. Mm-hmm. I've had guys with tears in their eyes on my couch because they cheated on their girlfriend a lot. They just didn't know.
Yeah.
And so you have to define your own relationships. And I live a polyamorous relationship where my wife and I are free to see other people. We're free to date other people, get into a relationship with other people, have sex with other people, cuddle, play, kiss, whatever. Now, we have boundaries.
Yeah.
And we have agreements.
Yeah.
If we're at a party and one of us wants to go play, then don't disappear.
Yeah.
Go tell the other, hey, I'm really hitting it off with so-and-so. It's okay if I take off for an hour.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's going to be fine. I know what her boundaries are, and she knows what mine are. And we do this thing that we call the State of the Union. Mm. And so we sit down on a regular basis every few months. Even when nothing's going on, we're great, or now we have an issue. We sit down every few months and we talk about our relationship. And we talk about all the things that we know. Mm-hmm. We talk about all the things that we are curious about, all the things we forgot. My memory sucks, so I have to ask about things that I've asked her about many times.
Yeah.
And we talk about 3 levels. So here's how I create relationships. I have 3 levels. Your needs, your boundaries, your needs, and your wants. Mm-hmm. Your boundaries are non-negotiable.
Yep.
This is my boundary. You are not allowed out of these boundaries unless I tell you that you can go outside. Is that okay?
Yeah.
If you meet someone whose boundaries don't match with yours, and you're not okay living in their boundaries, or they're not okay living in your boundaries, tough to say. It's not a relationship. It's not going to work.
It's a hard road to hoe.
Yeah. So we talk about our boundaries, and we make sure we're still there. We adjust them if any boundaries have shifted. Mm-hmm. And the only time a boundary is not in play is if the person who has the boundary chooses for themselves to tell the other person, hey, tonight or right now or whatever, forget about that.
Yeah.
That boundary doesn't count. Go play. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you check in with your partner often because you want to make sure that that was actually a real thing.
Yeah.
So that was your boundaries, non-negotiable. Then you have your needs. Your needs are what you need, but not all the time. Needs are like food.
Yeah.
I need to eat, but I don't have to eat all the time, and I don't have to eat every day.
It doesn't have to be a steak.
Right. I can go without food for several days. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I can do it. And if it's important enough for my partner to ask me to, not to put my needs aside for a moment, if it's important enough for her to ask me, I know it has to be important, and I want to give that to her.
Right.
So an example would be, I need to be able to flirt with women because I'm a flirty guy. I love women. I love the cuddling. I need to be able to flirt and be physical and cuddle. I don't have to be able to make out or have sex with them, but I need those things at least.
Yeah.
But
Need
if
your outlet.
if my wife and I are going to a festival or a party or whatever, and she's feeling self-conscious that day, or just in a bad mood, or just wants my attention because she's feeling extra in love, and she says, "Hey, baby, it's okay if you just pay attention to me, ignore everyone else tonight." Absolutely.
Fuck her.
Yes, I want to do that for her because I love her, and it's great for me. That's not a painful need to put aside for a day. It's a fun need to put aside for a day, but I couldn't forget about it for life because that wouldn't work.
Right.
I would become unhappy.
Correct.
And then my wants are the things that I want these things.
Yeah.
I don't need them.
Yeah.
I want women that I date to enjoy other women.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great thing. But if I meet a woman and our boundaries and needs work and she is not into girls at all, that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So my wants are what I express to my partners. This is the kind of things that I want. We don't have to. Just keep it in mind.
Yeah.
And if they want the same thing, awesome. Now we can really play. And if they feel like rewarding me for something or doing something special for my birthday, they have my list of wants. They can do the things that they're not opposed to, but they don't like, or they're not into. So I do those in my state of the union. We go through those three things. And then also, as an extra added thing, when we go to a lot of festivals or we go to parties that might be not sitting around a table playing games.
Right.
And when we do that, we do what we call a rules of engagement conversation. So on our way there, usually we talk about, all right, what are our rules of engagement? Usually they're the same. So usually it's a very quick conversation. Oh, you know the rules, same thing. Sometimes it's, what?
Tonight,
let's do this because this is extra fun. Or tonight, let's do this because I need a little bit extra, whatever it is. So we communicate about this. So our relationship isn't defined by a label. Mm-hmm. It's not defined by how other people have poly relationships. It's defined by these conversations. And we have these conversations so regularly that our relationship is always in a state of change, in a state of flux, but not a lot because they're usually fairly permanent, these things that we talk about. But there's always adjustments, and we're always making sure we're aiming in the same direction.
That's fucking awesome. That's actually a very powerful tool. I know you get this question all the time. It's like, I want a relationship like yours. What do I gotta do? What's the first thing I gotta do? And I'm like, well,
that's okay. I know that answer.
How good are you with truth? And how good are you with your communication? And it's like,
so that's paramount.
It's paramount.
If you don't have that, I don't care what kind of relationship you have. I don't care what kind of partner you have. You're gonna hit a wall at some point. It's gonna blow up.
Yeah.
And so I believe in what I call transparent truth, because when a lot of people talk about truth, they're like, don't lie, be honest. Mm-hmm. Well, I like to take it a step further and not just be honest about things when they come up or when I ask, but also announce truth when necessary.
Yeah.
So
when it's real for you in the moment.
Yeah, when it's real for me. And if it's a momentary, I felt this right now and I wasn't expecting, I want to communicate that. If it's a pang of feeling offended or jealous or whatever, I want to communicate that, not to make my partner feel bad about it, but so she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
And I will also communicate to her, oh, wow, that hit me. I don't know why. I don't want you to do anything about it. Just know. I just want you to know, be included in this.
Currently, this is running through my body.
Right.
It feels a little weird. I'm not used to space.
Right.
Let me share this with you.
Right. And I'll work through it, or I'll ask her to work through it with me. Or I'm having a bad day. I'm annoyed today. I'll let her know. Instead of walking around and then when she asks me something, I snap and she asks what's going on, then tell her I'm annoyed. That would be truth, but a little too late.
A little too late, yeah.
So I believe in transparent truth, which is I announce what's going on with me. When it's apparent to me that something's going on with me, good or bad, I announce it. Hey, here's what's going on. I'm feeling extra flirty today with you. Oh, wow. Whatever.
Yeah.
And honest communication, of course. I mean, the State of the Union conversation, the rules of engagement is all about that. And throughout the day, like uncomfortable, bullshit, small things. And of course I fail like everyone else.
Yeah, we're human.
Yeah, sometimes I don't give the absolute honest answer because I just don't want to deal with it. And then later on I go, this is a dick move. And I usually have to fix it. And sometimes I don't communicate. Like I have something going on with me and I know I should probably talk to her about this, but I just, So I fail too. Yeah. But I hold myself to these principles as much as I can. When I fail and when I realize I've been failing, I also address that. I make myself go, look, I probably should have said this a long time. When it happened, I didn't. Here's what's going on. So I don't expect people to be perfect. I don't expect people to be able to do it all the time. And I get that, question of how do you make it work? How do you maintain? And it's like, well, I do the best I can.
Right.
I do these things. I hold myself to them. I make myself do them. It doesn't have to be easy. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, to be honest, it's fun.
Yeah.
Most of the time, our rules of engagement conversation is sexy.
Yeah.
We're talking about what kind of trouble are we going to get into tonight.
Yeah.
Our State of the Union is fun because we don't talk about just our boundaries. We talk about the future and how are we going to use these things to create the thing that we want. And how does this look to you now? Oh, you want to meet a girl too? Well, how? Like, is this a one-time thing? Or is she going to move in eventually? Like, and we get to play with the idea. So we have the serious conversations when we're in good mood.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting till there's a problem and then having the serious conversation.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot.
Yeah, it helps a lot. What do you do in a situation where there's like an argument or a breakdown?
Oh, so this is interesting to me because my wife and I have only once in the 6 years now that we've known each other, 6 years and 2 weeks, only once have we raised our voice to each other at the same time. And it lasted for about 5 seconds. It's actually in a drive from your house. It didn't have anything to do with being at your house. It was a different thing that had been
Shenanigans.
Yeah, it was a different thing that had been going on, and we started talking about it in the car and got a little heated, and we both raised our voice. And it was a wow, and quiet, dead silence. Because what happens with us, and we never planned this, but this is how we communicate. If one of us starts getting into that, the other one goes okay, and they listen. And they're there, and they answer, but we force ourselves to answer calmly or not at all. And so we don't get into fights. We get into discussions. We get into arguments. But we don't yell at each other. Like I said, it was one blowout.
Yeah.
Quiet, and it was quiet for 10 minutes. And we parked, walked in. I walked into my office, and I was pissed off. And she walked into the bedroom. She was pissed off. She came into the office. She's like, "Do you want to talk about this?" And I was like, she went, "Okay." And she walked off. And I was like, "No, I do want to talk about this." And I walked over, and we had a calm conversation about it. Both very agitated still, and so we've gotten really good at that. And what we do when there's a breakdown, what we do when there's an argument, is that if one of us needs to do aggression or frustration, then they get to do that, and the other one's there, but we don't have to respond in kind.
Yeah.
And if we both realize that we have not been handling this thing, and it's now something that's affecting us, we're not fighting about it, but it's affecting us. Then we go out to dinner and we sit down and talk about it. We turn off the phones, turn off the TV, and sit down and talk about it because communication is key to all of it.
Yeah, especially when you have a dynamic relationship.
Yeah.
You know, when you have outside influences that can affect it, you know, outside of emotional states, outside wants and needs and desires, and if you don't have home base handled, it can be huge. And the listening factor is key. That's golden. Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah,
and of course, not of course, but we also do. If my home base, if we're not good, I don't do extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
If we're not good, I'm focused on us, and she's focused on us, and then we get back to okay. Now and it doesn't have to be the problem solved. It has to be we've talked about it, we recognize that it's here. We also recognize we're not going to let it destroy anything. Okay, cool. We can go back to our lives now and then keep working on this thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to. It's never me against her. It's never her opinion against mine. It's us against the problem.
That's that right there. Oh man, she is not the enemy. She's not the thing you have to break down and get through. She's your partner.
Yeah, she's my partner. So even when one of us fucks up, and it's happened, we've crossed each other's boundaries. It's not a conversation about you did this wrong thing. It's about this wrong thing happened. It's us against that. Yeah. How do we deal with it? Doesn't mean that you're free of guilt, or it doesn't mean that you're free of responsibility for what you did, but that's not how we talk about it. We talk about it as, how do we fix this? How do we move forward from here and make sure it doesn't happen again? Yeah. And once you do that, once you separate the problem from the relationship, and you're the partners working on the problem, there's no reason to get too upset with each other.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great conversation. All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Now, didn't I tell you that was going to be some really good advice? That was pretty awesome, right? So, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and leave a comment down below. And by all means, join us in the Facebook group and be part of the conversation. I'll see you on Friday.